For breakfast this morning, I'm having a little bit of an omelet. I've got some scrambled eggs with a little bit of shredded sharp cheddar added, and I've got some bacon up there at the top, 6 mini strips cut from 3 strips of bacon, and then last but not least, in fact the first thing I'm going to eat off to the left is some calf liver. I've added a little bit of pink salt, Himalayan pink salt, to both the eggs and the liver to give it a little bit more taste, as well as to add to my electrolyte count, which I appreciate. For lunch, I'm having the second half of the porterhouse steak that I made earlier this week. This is a little more than a half a pound, and I've poured some of the excess butter that was used in preparing this on a skillet on the steak itself. And this is going to wrap up lunch, sort of a late lunch for today. For dinner tonight, my wife cooked up this garlic lime skilled chicken, and this is actually chicken breast. That's they call it split chicken breast, and it's got some bones in it. So if you eat something like this, you got to be careful. But it's not 100% carnivore, but it's primarily meat. It does have a little. It was cooked in olive oil. It did have a little bit of diced onions, some garlic, jalapeno pepper, and chopped cilantro, sort of thrown into a mixture. But I can't really complain. I look at vegetables as sort of additives, not necessarily substantive. Like this is what I'm going to have, but I'm not going to worry about some trace elements of vegetables in this meal tonight. And this will wrap up for today. For breakfast this morning, I'm having the usual on a weekend, which is calf liver, as well as some eggs. And in this case, I've got a different type of meat than bacon, and it's called mini cocktail sausages, which I made, and this is my breakfast for today. For dinner tonight, I'm having some pork loin, country style ribs. This is part of the bone-in club pack. So there's a little bit of bone in here, but it's not that much. But this here should fill me up for tonight. There's a tiny bit of seasoning on top, but that's just what my wife likes to do, and that's fine with me. In previous videos, I've talked about the benefits of the carnivore diet, but I've not made a video exclusively about the one bad side of the carnivore diet. And that bad side is the electrolytes that are harder to keep in your body, especially during the first few weeks of trying this diet. I've also had problems with very hard stool for the very first time I tried a carnivore diet, but once I ate more fats and drank more water, that problem went away. But I don't think that's a problem for a lot of people. I just think in my particular case, that's been an issue. But the key problem, in my opinion, with this diet is that the body is running on ketones from fat instead of glucose from carbohydrates. Therefore, people tend to lose some water. And just think of the word carbohydrate. There's less hydration in your diet because of the foods that you're eating. They're so low in carbs that your body sheds more water weight. And unfortunately, some important minerals called electrolytes are expelled in the process. In my case, I was dehydrating myself when I did carnivore at first, that I had to deal with a lot of leg cramps, and of course I had issues with the bowel movements, and with stool that was almost always 1 or 2 on the Bristol scale. But the good side is that once you get a handle on getting enough fat in your body and enough salt and drinking enough water, these problems largely go away. The fat is more important in ensuring your stool doesn't dry up, essentially, but that the salt you add also keeps fluids in your body and helps you lose less of them, and you keep more of your electrolytes over time. Optionally, you can add electrolytes into like drinks or on top of food if you have leg cramps or calf cramps or whatever, any other muscle cramps. And one other thing to keep in mind, if you have some carbohydrates in one meal, like let's say you take a break from carnivore or low carb or keto to inject yourself essentially with more carbs from maybe a carb heavy meal, that one meal doesn't just automatically replenish all your electrolytes, and you don't immediately gain all your water back. Adding carbs doesn't magically fix these issues. You have to eat carbs over and over for days to fully replenish your water weight, and then continue to eat excess salt and maybe even get other supplementation for like sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, magnesium sulfate, which is your Epsom salt. There's food grade Epsom salt that you would get, or something like no salt, with potassium chloride. So those are kind of the things you could do through like snake juice or some sort of other method of, like supplementation, like pills or whatever. So those are the kind of things you would have to deal with to try to replenish the water weight and then add that back. But you can still be low carb and ketogenic and carnivore. You just have to pay more attention to your electrolytes. But I wanted to mention this one con of the carnivore diet because I think it's significant, and I think it's maybe not talked about enough in terms of what it really means. I'm seeing it more now in the last few months than when I did early in January of 2019 or even in late 2018 when I first started reading about it and seeing videos on it and start experimenting with it myself. So anyways, just want to let you know that's the one thing you got to look out for. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.